Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all you beautiful viewers and listeners out there in the cyberspace and over this beautiful globe that we all live in and on with, actually, more so. So in this intimate conversation today, we have the beautiful guest, Jenni Abdelnoor, with us. And welcome, Jenni. And I've been so excited about having you on today. Absolutely excited. Can't wait to see what this unfolds.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Janine.
Welcome. It's lovely to meet you, Jenny. Lovely to meet you.
All right, so Janine is going to read your bio and introduce you to everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Jenny is an embodiment Voyager of the deep primordial feminine current, Soma and soul. Embodied soul retrieval of the inner priestess, primordial mother essence. Has a Bachelor of Science honours in physiotherapy. Master Pilates rehabilitation facilitator. Embodiment and integrated movement mentor, myofascial structural integration and release body worker, soul shaman and midwife of the soul's embodiment, quantum and theta healing practitioner, bridge between diagnosis and gnosis of healing arts, priestess of the harmonic realms of nature, horse and dragon medicine woman, relationship alchemist, an inner child, inner masculine, and inner feminine, energetic reclamation and trauma reunion. These are some parts of Jenny that have been in service over 25 years, hands-on, real-life mahi. Beautiful, beautiful list of life experiences, credentials, whatever we want to call them, Jenny. And wow, I can feel the warrior, the goddess, your connection to the natural world and the deep wisdom and awareness that flows within you as I read this list out. So yes, I'm honoured to be here and be part of this conversation with you today. So if you could share with us what some of these beautiful descriptions are, just so that I myself and some of our viewers can get a feeling, more of a feeling for you too. Let's start with embodied soul retrieval of the inner priestess and primordial mother essence. That feels, deeply nurturing, and it even feels courageous. Like there's so many words, feelings that come to me with that. So could you explain a little about what happens there, what that piece is?
I hope so. Thank you, Janine. It was really interesting writing my own bio because it's an energy ball, and I felt I was simply drawing a few threads out and like reading the labels of who I be. And offering it in English language. So thank you for reading that back. I was like, wow, she sounds an interesting lady to hang out with. And then I'm like, actually, you're talking about me. Okay. So yeah, that piece is really the essence of my own healing journey and my own sense of homelessness before I fully embodied my being here. And you know, as so many of us that are in service, we are often in service in the peace that we hope one day will occur for us. So it was in a way, my journey as a 25 years on hands-on practitioner, and way before that as well. All my life touching into humanity, touching into livingness, touching into the horse kingdom and the animal kingdom. And getting this tangible sense of how much of someone was at home. You know, my little tenacious 5-year-old, like knocking on the humans, there's not much of this being home. And at the same time, what a mirror for myself, as a huge amount of myself was disembodied and hedging my bets between landing on Earth at this time and my exit strategy. And then I looked around and realized actually most humans are hedging their bets and they're not really all here. They're kind of, you know, playing the advantageous game and figuring out, how to play this game on planet Earth with my exit strategy. So I went fully into the medical profession, science, physiotherapy, the medical side of things, because I thought that might allow me to do the work I do in the world, and it simply shut that down for a good decade, and disavowed all that I innately knew about myself. So then I started like this secret closet of when I put my hands on someone for a safe spine injury, for an amputation, or for a neurological condition, or treating somebody in a coma in intensive care units, I had a secret conversation with their body. I had these undercurrents of deep listening where the primordial mother current started to speak to me in a whole different language, in a whole different way, of the form and the formless, of spirit into matter, of the descent of our consciousness into the body. And I kind of realized that I'm just going to learn, but my learning medium is not through books or texts or museums or the top down. My learning is from the roots up. So every single time I placed my hands on a being, this primordial current would start to speak to me, and the mother within me was activated. My mother connection with my earth mama, the primordial current, just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And through that was gifted many tools and many ways to service and midwife those who have a clear definition of what bridge they're bridging in that moment, what bridge they're bridging. So I feel like for my whole life, I've been the bridge that can be of service to whatever a particular form of consciousness embodied is bridging at that time. And that deep listening capacity to, without question, follow life.
I love your response. That is absolutely, like, my heart was wide open and I was hungry for what you were saying. That's exactly how I felt just then. And it's like you found, by going into the medical world and having your mind fed, and you were saying that disavowed you, that disconnected you, because my knowing of life is that the mind keeps us small. It does keep us disconnected from the truth of ourselves. Wow. And you found your flow through the mother, through coming up into you. And I always say, for me, it comes through my heart, the portal of my heart. And that's where I connect, and that's where my knowing comes from. So I so get you, Jenni, and yes, thank you for sharing this part of you. The other part that I was very aware of as you were speaking is that you're fully aware of the aspects of you that you can bring into and embody in this reality as you require them. So those aspects that may be in other places, in other civilizations, and other lives and timelines, and how you can draw on them and bring them fully here to be present in the moment, because that's what you practice, isn't it? You are present in the moment with your clients or whoever you're with, and it's like an aspect will come in to be in that presence right there from that list of what you have, your credentials, or that I read out before. Would that be accurate? An accurate way of describing it, Jenni?
Yeah, I'm really receiving your sharing, and thank you for opening your heart to my weave. I that is one of the places, is like, whenever I weave with sisters, with goddesses, it's like honoring and respecting your language and your way and your weave, and creating something new in the space. And that is exactly how I relate to my clients, is a space of void. So coming into that complete potent presence that some would refer to as emptiness or nothingness. I'm like, that's a little secret. It's kind of full of everything. But we can call it nothing because the masculine likes emptiness and nothingness and complete. And yeah, and in that space, like feeling that aspect of myself, what wants to rise in me and what wants to rise in this other person that is from the unseen realms. The threshold in life that interests me, Janine, is the threshold of the unknown and the unknowable. That's where I live.
Isn't that beautiful?
And most people's comfort zone is the known. And they nudge into the, the unknown. And often they come to me and they're like, shit, Jen, you've just walked me off the plank. And it's like, and isn't this amazing, So I soon learned that my inner sense of always being between worlds was my gift. And that comfort zone of the unknown and the unknowable is what this emergent consciousness in my map of that is bringing through at this time.
That's beautiful. And I personally have sat in with Jenni holding group, and oh man, we've had some powerful and potent realizations in the moment, shifting and awakening and sharing. It's just been amazing and absolute how would I, it's like you just hold the space with such openness that is so, it's like a marshmallow. The marshmallow keeps coming in lately, this fluffy energy of soft and gentle that just guides and soothes as you move yourself through. And Jenni holds it just so beautifully. So yeah, great work, and thank you for all you're doing, because it is a powerful and potent mix that you have.
And thank you for reflecting that, Mandy. Absolutely, like the times we have shared. I think that's one of the things that people find quite unusual about me, is they expect the pink fluffy marshmallow. And at the same time, there's a mother of dragons in there as well.
Yes, I feel both those.
Absolutely.
And what I love as women, it's like we can actually laugh at each other's disguise, like, because I feel people in essence. So I want to say, I love your disguises, goddesses. They're amazing. And I see all of you. Yeah.
So cool. You go, Jenni.
I was just going to talk into the piece, the priestess of the harmonic realms of nature. I would love you to just speak into that, and because feeling that one very much.
Yeah, thank you, Janine. It's interesting. I don't often speak about this, so it feels like I'm actually checking in with myself what to share for those who may not be ready to touch into that connection for themselves. So just honoring that trepidation I feel in sharing this. My greatest teacher in the physical form has been horses. So I grew up trusting and feeling safer with 500 kilos of feedback than I did with human people, because it's more congruent. It's more honest. And it has a very clean agenda. So, my great teachers in the harmonic realm of nature have been the wisdom of the horse medicine. And as a wisdom carrier of that lineage, my husband walks with the opposite almost. He carries wolf medicine and the wolf journey. So between us, as we've navigated the wisdom of the horse and that harmonic, natural quality that it can teach us, we've had a very parallel journey in our marriage. You look at the horse and you look at the wolf and you say predator prey. And isn't that just the journey of the feminine and the masculine through thousands of years? So we've been dancing this deep weave with the archetypes of the animals. And one of the particular things horse medicine allows me to carry into my practice is this deep sensitivity around, the tone of the vagus nerve, the tone of the whole being and state of a body, the tone of congruency or disintegrity inside a body. So this knowing of how thoughts, words and actions and intent are, when they're in service, in fullness and in balance, it's truth arises. Wisdom arises, heart arises, expansion arises. So horses taught me the levels of life that are safe with life. And the harmonic realm of nature showed me that she will only show herself to those truly that can hold devotion and reverence to that subtlety and nuance of those inner earth realms and those, life-giving well springs. And the medicine of horse really gave me a printout of where the collective humanity's nervous system is as a whole nervous system. And, with our fight, flight and freeze. And the one that I almost think is the most damaging is the fawning response. The fake appeasing and pleasing and forming allegiances which are based on dangerous levels of survival and conditional contracts. So horses taught me, long before people researched the vagus nerve and vagus tone and vagus theory, which is fully out there now, about the disingenuous bonding and connections that are formed in humans where survival is threatened. As an endangered species. So I really learned from them, we're a really endangered species in our current format. Yeah.
We certainly are. We certainly are. And so you, by listening to you, Jenni, you really truly know yourself as the multidimensional being, like even within just this reality, the multidimensional layers and levels of what's present here, not outside of here, but all contained within this reality, and within every other beautiful being that walks this reality with us, this earth with us. And I have a real connection with animals as well, and I see them as my teachers, and so I'm always in observation and connection, just with the bird life that is around me, and the domestic cats and the dogs, and and I'm out in the country, so that the cows and the sheep, and I feel their presence. I feel the presence in every one of them, and I see what is given to me through their eyes, and it's humbling. It's truly humbling to be in connection with these beautiful beings that so many don't have a realization of, more than just a cat or just a cow, or
So well said. Yeah.
So I totally honor your connection with horses, and thank you for that wonderful explanation.
Gorgeous. So Jenni, how do we navigate the rate of change occurring on the planet at the moment and in our lives, with and staying grounded in love, really? Like, how do you see that happening?
It's beautiful. It's I think the rate of change, what I've been feeling, Mandy, is the rate of change in the different phases of the body is the greatest challenge I've seen. So we all know we're being bombarded with so much data, like data overload, data streaming. So it's what I've been noticing in people in the last decade. It's like the mental bombardment and the rate that the mental body is vibrating at is very different to the lag time that the emotional body is being like hauled and trawled along at, like some, overstuffed fishing net.
Yes.
It's way out of balance. So there's this desperation to get somewhere, to get something, to have the piece of knowledge that soothes the nervous system somehow out there somewhere. So I've been really noticing the general push for the mental stimulation, hyperstimulation, overstimulation of the mental body in a highly addictive and damaging way to the deep psyche,
Yeah.
to the deep capacity for anyone to, I literally, and I feel that, Mandy, when I'm meeting people, it's like I literally feel like I might be meeting someone from the neck up, and there's nobody else below, C4
Yeah.
in the spinal column. And it is that is their current space. So to talk about groundedness and anchoring roots with someone like that feels like a totally foreign, bewildering, and unsafe concept. And the rate of change in all of our faculties in my world only really comes into its own when it lands in the physical, in the densest part of us, the physicality. How can we access, as Janine said, our multidimensional self, our multidimensional faculties, not in theory, not in an idea, in the body, like inside, fully online? How can we be online everywhere and here? How can we do that? How can we be that? So in a way, Mandy, I have no answers at all, but it's a every minute of everyday exploration.
Yes.
And it's like some people will come to me with something really relatively minor, and my feedback is go sleep in a tent for 2 weeks. Hide all your shoes, live barefoot for 2 weeks. Because the resonance of nature is calling us home. And she can hold us in this transition, as there's parts of nature that have never stepped out of those higher vibrations. So to align our physical body and let some of this drop in a way of opening to that, as opposed to grabbing or clutching or reaching or striving.
Yeah.
We've been taught to strive, and that is the opposite of receiving.
It is. It is.
So I guess my interest is, how can we as humanity come into the deepest level of receivership we have ever dared to believe?
Exciting,
It
eh?
takes a lot of trust, doesn't it? A lot of
Does.
I think
self.
so. I think so.
Yeah,
And
that's
I,
the journey. That's the journey now that I'm seeing is we're being given every opportunity to come inwards and trust in our innate knowing, and to trust in our own discernment, and to trust every aspect of ourselves, because we gave that away a long time ago, and to our detriment. And that's why so many just live in that peace up there. Yeah. I say to my clients often, when I'm helping them see the difference between living life fully up there or coming into the wholeness of ourself, and I say, see yourself in the ocean. So you're in the ocean and you're in the water up to your neck, and everything above the water is just the mind, the programming, the smallness of self, and everything below the water is the body heart awareness, and that is the field that touches everything. And so anytime you when I say you, I'm talking to them, anytime you want to come down and experience the fullness of yourself more, come in under the water and breathe down into this part. So it actually works for quite a few people to actually visualize themselves just standing in the ocean, and there's the cutoff point. So feel, instead of think your way through life, feel your way through life. That comes from down here. So yeah.
That feels beautiful. I might borrow that analogy, Janine. That's
Yes.
gorgeous. That's absolutely gorgeous. So tangible. So
Yes.
tangible.
Yes. And
And
when we're learning something or relearning a truth, it has to be something tangible to start with, so that we can focus and practice.
Does.
Yeah.
And when you know yourselves, and I know many people listening or seeing this will know that when you really fully be present in that natural surrounding, like your picture behind you, those places like that are just absolutely, like you say, haven't dropped out of any of their high vibration, it's still holding that space. When you go there, you are it. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful realignment to, walk with. So for me, whenever, if I'm, like can't get out into a spot like that and I'm just here, I'll just go there. I don't need to physically go there. I just go there. And it's just always with us. It's who we are. If we can remind ourselves of that anyway, and bring ourselves back to those points. And at this time, as we're talking, as you're saying, this time right now is really the most important time to be taking ourselves back to nature, connecting in there, keep ourselves sane.
That's our world. That's where
the
natural world is the perfect fit for us children of nature. And removed from it, we've been just subtly pulled away and put into concrete jungles, and put shoes on our feet that have rubber soles on them, and fed carb food, and working to the clock every day in a routine. And like, I could go on for hours here, so I won't. But we've been pulled away. We've been pulled away from what fits us, because it's who we are. But the wonderful thing is, people like yourself, Jenni, and like you and me, Mandy, we are opening now to that deep truth again, and feeling that connection and wanting it more and more. So
as a kid sitting in the bush, I used to sit in the bush for hours as a little kid, and just the fantails would be there. They'd just about land on my shoulders, and it was just a beautiful space, and I honestly never wanted to leave. I didn't want to have to go back home and be amongst all of that world. I just wanted to stay there and be that forever. It's so one of the questions here that we've got sorted for you, or you sorted for us too, is the children and the codes that they're holding. Now that was really interesting to me. I'd love to hear more, and the key to what's unfolding at this time with them. So can you explain a little bit more about them and their codes and what's going on?
I can give it a go, and it's interesting. As I share this, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to bring in the really cynical side of myself to bring this through. And this basically is from a place of my own inner hopelessness at a point in my journey where I was working with so many adults and they weren't freaking getting it. It was literally like my own generation and the generations before feeling this grinding to a halt. And I'm like, holy moly, this generation are trying to lead forward these pristine souls that are arriving. We are stuffed. And it took me to that place of such deep, it was like a knowing that, allowing that whole energy, that whole system, that whole entrenched inner patriarchy was coming to an absolute stop. Yet all my energy had been kind of like, my inner dragon demolition team and were focused on where the energy was stored, where it was most stuck. I thought that was my work in the world. And meanwhile, I'm bringing these beautiful, incredible babies into the world, my own children. And everywhere I've been, I'm always surrounded by children. And I never really thought much about it because it's such a natural way for me to be in my inner child state. And then the reality hit. Then this piece landed in me that what I had been trying to do the whole time was tap into and crack through these inner codes of the divine child in every single adult that I'd ever put my hands on. And it's like when I really felt that, when I really realized the grief of the absence of that in my own life, and my sheer tenacity to want to living autopsy humans to find that precious coding. It was like in that moment the last part of me dropped in, and I was like, here she is, she's home now. And from that, the world changed a lot, and that my way of accessing this place within each and every human has taken a complete revolutionary turn. Part of me acting out of, the guidance I received on receiving, if you like, the next part of my mission. We all get chapters, right? The next chapter.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, this chapter was you've actually had beautiful Beverly on this sharing before. Beverly channeled for me years ago, and it came through that I would know there was a moment in time where I would be drawing my children out of school. It would be really difficult, and it is absolutely known that their souls came in together to hold something at this time. So a few months ago, that was the time, during one of the long lockdowns in Auckland in New Zealand, that the energy just came through, and it was whatever I needed to do to extract my children from the system, that was beginning to morph and change them into that which was dying in the world. So yeah, me being me, and with the fire energy that comes with that, has been a catalytic process of drawing the children out. Not only that, supporting many, many parents to do the same, putting my hand up and saying, okay, I'm going to hold the energy for the soul seed whānau and the children and the learning community within where I live. And within a few short weeks, a few short months, we had for example, I had this camp. I was like, the horses came through again, and it was 75 of us, boom, just like this, had come out, had been extracted from this system, and were blinking and looking at this new reality. And we had a whole 4 days at an incredible property called June Lakes Lodge, where we got to weave with the horses. The horses were walking around our tents. Children were meeting them. We were interfacing with our own knowing. There were no masters. There were no apprentices. We were all level. We were all learning off each other as souls appreciating souls. So this catalytic, do this now has been really coming in, and the codes of what the children are holding has been part of initiating the golden consciousness that I'm here to be a part of in this world, and that I am a kaitiaki of that. I am a guardian, and my commitment to being here fully at this time is just gently emerging now.
Beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful.
The special ones, the young ones that, in every generation that's coming through, from the last generation to this generation, and the babies now, they all are coming through to anchor in the new world. And I've always seen the flow of love, of pure divine love, as golden honey colored flow. Yeah. And it's always had these diamonds of iridescent white sparkles in it. And I realized some months ago that every one of those iridescent white sparkles within the flow of pure honey love are the new children that are coming in now, that are just so full of coding within the flow of love, that they're forming the new world. So we're bringing it through our hearts with every awareness we have of ourselves, and every reconnection to a natural world. But those children, they're just the pure essence of the new world. Like, they carry it. They're the whole foundation for it. Yes. So we have got the scrub cutters, and we are breaking through the societies and the trail to it, but they're just here holding it. Like, they're just, it's I adore these children. Like, how can you not? You can see it in their eyes. Like, you only have to just glance and catch the eye of one. It's like, yes, I see you, darling. Yes.
Yeah, so gorgeous, eh? And what I'm loving is, how they're stepping their parents up to the plate.
Yes,
That's
they're their role.
Really nudging them, like
yes.
poking, prodding. Sometimes it's really uncomfortable for some of these parents, but they're getting them to step up, and I am loving that. I love it.
Yeah, great point, Mandy. That's that's exactly been my experience and journey is as my tension and focus turns into what is, and what is love. Love is altering that which I used to, bash up against.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff. And so many of these, I've said it before, I've shared that I was given this vision about 12, 13 years ago of all these children coming into, I keep getting the word pods when I go to explain this, into these pods of groups of them that were now nurtured and taught by these gorgeous hearted teachers who are teaching them out in nature, not in a classroom. We're out there in the world teaching them about survival and themselves as higher beings as well. So it was, and this is what I'm seeing everywhere now with all these children coming out of the mainstream education system, a lot of homeschooling, and yeah, it's great. So exciting. I mean, I love what's going on. I love that there's, we were talking about the perfect mess the other day, this
Yes.
mess has just created so many great opportunities in breaking out of the old into this new, vibrant world that we're, really stepping into. And these children, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal.
Without the world breaking down like it is now, without the old world crumbling, we would never have been on this rapid journey of reawakening. So it's only when we're pushed back into a corner and by our fears or by whatever it is, then we have nowhere to turn but inward. That, for so many, that they're discovering that there's so much more to themselves, and that this world doesn't fit them anymore. So, and being the creator beings that we are, of course, with every new self-discovery, we are creating a piece out in the reflection of our world. So it's fantastic. And now that we've got millions and millions waking up, all these creator beings together that are designing the perfect fit here, it's exciting times, truly.
I just want to share this beautiful family I met down the lower North Island, and their little boy's only 4 or 5, and mum and him went to Kmart in the city, not too big a city, and he was explaining to me, this little boy was explaining how he saw all the people in there with this energy of I want. He said this energy coming into me, all from them, going I want, and he was just overwhelmed by this desire of want and need and greed, really.
Wow.
He couldn't be there. Mum had to take him out of the shop because he was just overwhelmed by it all. He said it was just too much, and he kept saying it hurt me here, I had pain here. Oh gosh, he's onto it, that kid. He's so onto it. Unreal. Does healing on his mum and dad, like he's just amazing. Amazing family. I'm going goosebumps because they're amazing family and doing such a wonderful job with these new children, like really honoring them as to who they are. And gorgeous.
Yeah, it's this the creator genius that is innate to every being that's being born. And I really, for me, I'm like, Jen, just stay out the way. Just get out the way. Just feed them,
And it's like that.
And next minute, I've got a 12-year-old son who's channeling full psychological diagnosis of every single human he meets as if he's reading them like barcodes. Downloading through his artistry worlds that look like made Avatar look basic. And my sister, my daughter, she was a sister, who creates runes and who has the language of horse medicine, and through dance and art and her full embodiment is channeling pure consciousness coming through, and is altering the fabric of nature, comes alive as she walks through
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And
That's gorgeous.
that's just a few months out of school.
Yeah.
It's who they be already. And
Wow.
I've always
Yes.
and it takes, like, you like you say, Janine, you just make eye contact with that child in the supermarket.
Mm.
And through doing that, we've allowed their soul to be met and witnessed here on earth just a little deeper.
Yeah.
And we've told Mama, he's here now. She's
Yeah.
here now.
Yes.
And that's enough.
Mm.
Isn't
Yeah.
that beautiful? Oh, beautiful
Yes.
conversation. Beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry, Mandy.
I was just going to say, often these little babies in the supermarkets or the wherever, in the trolleys or being carried by mum or wherever out there, and they'll lock on with me and they don't lock off. It's like they'll just follow me, they keep following, and I'm smiling at them, recognizing them too, to the point where mum actually starts looking because the kid's head's going. It's so cute. I love it. They just know when you know that you know them, and they know that you know that. It's like such a cool thing.
So true, Mandy. Like the power of being seen.
Yes.
Being seen.
Yeah.
And don't we all desire that? Maybe I speak for myself, like there's a part of us to be seen in our fullness here, embodied. Wow.
Absolutely. Yes.
Totally. And that's the beautiful thing about the awakening too, is that we do see each other. When we come together, we recognize each other, and we communicate not just with the eyes, not just with the words, but the hearts meet as well. And so there is full recognition, because I see myself in you and you see yourself in me. And I love those moments. I love those moments. It's like I'm getting fed energetically when I come to somebody who sees me and I see them.
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful way. And there's no words needed.
No,
That's what's so lovely. You can sit in silence for an hour and it wouldn't matter, because we just all know we're communicating, we're together, we know. It's all good.
So if we were to, we've already touched on it here quite a bit today, but let's talk about aliveness. And I love the word thrival. And what many appears a hostile environment, what may appear as a hostile environment in the world right now. Let's have a touch on that, Jenny. Tell us your knowing of that.
I think that space, that space of survival, we have been living in a survival paradigm. Dog eats dog, competition, take out your neighbor. There's no dispute around exactly how
Take out your neighbor.
Yeah. And it's like we've played that game really well to its full bandwidth. We know who we be when we do that, and we've all been the persecuted, and we've all been the persecutor. And yeah, we got an A star for that game, right?
We did.
We are masters. We have mastered that, so we don't need to do it anymore. So what is beyond that? What is beyond that is my word thrival. That for me is how I would navigate with any soul or any being that I work with, is following that energy of aliveness and that emergent quality of the somatic life emergence. And that I guess that's my kind of clunky language. I don't have the language to describe the feel of it. But that is like my new north, is to follow the emergent aliveness. And what I've noticed in people, and it's really common in New Zealand. It's probably more here than I had when I lived in the UK, is the tall poppy syndrome. So anyone that looks more alive or looks like they may be thriving, hack that down.
Oh my gosh,
That
you
needs to
know.
be taken down a peg. So
Yeah.
I was quite shocked when I came to sit into the New Zealand culture and kind of feel that. But I still believe the thrival is for all of us, and the thriving is for all of us. And there's something completely contagious, and I'm not talking like virus contagious now. There is something completely contagious about aliveness. Aliveness is immeasurable. Aliveness can be shared and opened and ignited like the flame that lights 1,000 candles. So where we've lost our way in my world around this survival, the energy of thrival is the feminine principle embodied. Feminine principle of abundance.
Yes.
There is more than enough. There is so much to go around. There is so much care. There is so much for all of us. There is so much of me for me, and turning up the volume on people's aliveness has been one of the most rewarding paths to walk with people. And it's risky and it's edgy, because in that place you're coming into contact with sexual energy. You're coming into contact with, this deep pre-orgasmic current that may have had the lid shut down for very valid reasons. And honoring those reasons why the disconnect and the cutoff from the erotic current of life has happened for each being. So there's tenderness, there's grief, there's trauma, there's drama, there's a lot in that space. And for many, having a life at a volume of like 1 out of 10 has been enough to actually contemplate that idea of opening that union of life within, that place where the inner masculine and feminine, that deep divine union is possible for every single one of us in every single moment of existence, is scary for many. It's terrifying. It's like, it's that feeling of trembling, of everything like shaking down, because it breaks open our heart to a place where it can never form the same shape again. Where it can never go back to its previous contraction or form. So for me, aliveness is the willingness to let the unknowable, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
To allow the unknowable to fuck you open.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
I do believe I could sit here all day and just
Yes.
feast on your conversation, Jenny.
Oh, Janine.
Absolutely.
You're too kind.
I keep finding myself going into the flow of your conversation, like I'm dancing, a sinuous, very sensuous movement and dance within. You have such a way with words and connection as you're speaking, like you don't hide away anything. You just sit there open and share, and it's like this is second or third time now I find myself starting to move into the flow of it, and I am the words, I am the energy, and it's like, wow, yeah, it's just
and it's like opening aspects of self, because what you're doing is Jenny, you in your descriptive way of everything and expressing it is just opening me anyway. I can feel it, and I feel like that's what's happening with Janine, is it's opening up the aspects of self that relate to that as well. And it's something that we might not have put into words, but it's part of. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love what you do and how you do it.
The weaving together of the divine masculine and the divine feminine within us So the alignment happens, and then in comes the physical representation of that. And yeah, that's that in itself can be very scary.
Yes.
Yes. Gosh, yes. Really frightening when you're diving into something and there's no stopping it now. It's like you've gone in, you started with the little tweaks, and then next minute, whoa, it's a full-on slide.
Yes.
And you're on that, and it's like, whoa,
Yes.
where's this going? But the freedom on the other side, or when you land at the bottom, it's just beautiful. It's really beautiful, but it is a scary place, and it's not something everyone goes, yeah, I'll do that.
No,
We all
'cause
sort of
you're right. Our human nature is incredibly controlling. Yet our soul nature is not.
yeah, no.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I was brought up in a very male dominated house when I was a little girl, and mum was very gentle and took her place as the secondary citizen in the house very well. And dad was the king of the castle, of course, and I had three brothers all molded on dad's likeness. So I grew up, and I was determined not to become my mother, trampled down in second class. So I became one of the males in the house, and I just lived with the boys, and I was always with the boys. And then moving through teenage years and older teenage years, when we started partying and that, and in those days the girls were in one room, they'd form together, and the boys would be in the other room around the keg, all doing the masculine thing. I'd be out with the boys around the keg, because there was no way I wanted to sit in the other room and talk about knitting and crocheting and babies. I'd formed it all in my mind, and then when I became a mother, and I started seeing the huge difference to what it was like to be in the divine feminine, and it was nothing like I had pictured all my growing up years. And so I swung around so greatly that one day in my late 30s, early 40s, in meditation, I realized that all I could see in front of me was the goddess and not the god. And I wondered, where had the masculine gone completely? So that was a huge surprise and shock for me, that I couldn't bring in the divine masculine in my vision at all. So I could see it way off in the background, sort of thing. This is how it was being represented, but not. So that began the journey of bringing in the still point and the fluidness, the motion, and bringing in the vulnerability and the courage, and the strength to be myself in all my hues and shades. And of course I'm a work in progress, naturally, always. So but beautiful conversation. Beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes.
Okay, so are there ways to self-check to ensure our inner alignment with life and our true nature?
Yeah, there's ways to check in, and one of the places I check in for myself is my breath. Always able to come to the breath. So what I've noticed more recently is I am breathing so slow and so long and so deep, and spending a lot of time in what I call the sacred pause. So the breath, or the ability to draw spirit into matter, to be inspired, to work with our chi and our life force, is a beautiful everyday check-in that most people find really tangible. From the basics of even counting our breaths per minute and noticing what that might be like, and noticing where in the body the breath is. Is the breath just in the shoulders? Is the breath in only the upper chest area? Is the breath feeling tourniqueted and constricted below the diaphragm? Does it get trapped in the throat? All these ways of checking in with the breath. And that capacity, you know, with every breath, when the breath can come in and permeate every cell in the body, we're speaking to our entire consciousness with every breath. If we only think the breath sort of ends and begins in the lungs only, we're missing a huge part of the story. We're missing full cellular aliveness. And, you know, the breath is such a good go-to with, I bring it to every being I come into contact with. Also regulates the hearts, the autonomic nervous system. So that place of coming into an inner harmonic convergence of all the rhythms of being, all the rhythms of life, allows a real resetting. And what I've really been feeling and sharing with people recently is the sacred pause. Most of us have been in our breath. We breathe in and we talk a little bit and we say what do we want as fast as we can, and we take a little bit more breath in, and we are cultivating a permanent anxiety attack, and then we say, I'm happy, I'm so happy. It's like, no, love, you're manic. Sorry, love, you're manic. And once they finish doing that, they get depressed, right? It's like the other end of the spectrum. So in this intelligence of the pause at the end of the out-breath, there literally feels like this spaciousness. So if I breathe all the way out, I've let go of everything which has nothing to do with me in that moment. And I sit in the gentle trough before the next wave of inspiration arises. And I sit in that space and I dwell and I listen, and time slows down and more of me arrives. And I don't know who's going to take the next breath, but she breathes. And that self-check-in around the breath has been, for me, the anchor for this entire journey, to keep coming back. And there's so many beautiful schools of wisdom and learning around the breath. And I feel the breath can seduce us back into life, can seduce us into the level of aliveness that our multidimensional self is wishing to thrive in.
Beautiful. This just reminded me of an art piece my daughter did, and it was on the breath, but the awake, you know, when we just wake up, there's that moment in time as we wake where we have no thought. There's no recognition, no thought, no nothing, right in that moment. And she did an art piece about that. It's that wow. Point there, exactly. And remember thinking, wow, that's, you know, that was incredible for me anyway, to think about that part, you know, that she'd chosen to do the art on that. But yeah, and another little thing I wanted to share, because it just reminded me, I was in such resistance, but there was I was sitting in on a Zoom call and it was all gamma breathing. And so he's telling us when to breathe, and all I could do was sit there and go, God, another breath. Okay. Such resistance. Oh, I'm not taking this breath. I don't want to take that breath. So it was like, and I'm like, what are you doing? Just stop it and go with this. But it was just being told to do it, I think, was my thing. But the change too that was happening with those breaths, I have to say, it did work. But gosh, it was, you know, yeah, I don't know, something, there's always been something about that for me that didn't fit me in that breathing thing. You know, it just, I don't know what it does. Obviously it's bringing up whatever I need to bring up, I suppose, but all that don't tell me what to do thing, I'm not sure whether it was it or not.
Don't tell me what to breathe.
Yeah. The rebel.
Ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
Love it.
I love the breath. I absolutely love where the breath takes me. I love that part that you shared. And from the pause, I don't know who's going to take the next breath.
Yes.
Like, that's delicious. There's so many delicious morsels that you've shared today, Jenni.
Yes. Absolutely, eh?
Yeah.
So the inner patriarch is what related to the embodiment of who we be at this time. Can you just sort of explain, you know, because that's really what we're doing at this moment, isn't it? Is really releasing the old patriarch within.
I believe so, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I believe so, Mandy. What what I've noticed and what many of us have been feeling is this resistance to the systems that feel that they've had external authority over us or have formed us or conditioned us, institutions, education, the ever since we're born and we are required to have a birth certificate, the full journey all the way through. So there's a lot of the part of us that knows what freedom is and actually knows the constrained version of ourselves that's been showing up, that can start kind of rallying against everything outside of ourselves. But my sense is, and having worked with so many thousands of bodies over many lifetimes, is the actual deconstruction is our inner patriarchy. We have that entire pattern, entire system taking up space as an inner scaffolding inside of us. And, I think the day that I got really clear on that patriarchy is not outside of me, which brought up a huge amount of raging and a huge amount of a disempowerment around what's the point? How can I impact or change that? Has created the deepest level of trust in dissolving and dismantling and disintegrating that within myself. When I dismantled that within myself, what I met was what I call no man's land. And I'm like, this barren waste ground, neither the masculine nor the feminine's been allowed here for a really long time. Spirit hasn't been allowed here for a really long time. Now this is getting interesting. The wasteland of no man's land. And who's going to come into that space? What is willing to bridge that? Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That invitation, because in my being, in my consciousness, that was my blueprint and my template of Hieros Gamos, of sacred union. And the patriarchal construct that I'd embodied to replace that, to put a something, to claim the space of that deepest longing and that deepest sense of separation, never enough to fill that void. But to take that down on the inside and be willing to have nothing, to be nothing, and to work with what wanted to bridge into that space has been huge.
Yeah.
And that's where that primordial mother current, that witch birth creation met me, holding us all.
Wow. That takes courage, doesn't it? Very deep courage.
Yeah.
And trust.
It's a drive though, isn't it? Like when your soul or that inner part of us that is connecting to that freedom and knows that freedom, it's like that just drives you though. It drives you to release and let go of whatever it is that's required to get you there, to take you there, to be there with it again, and in full capacity, I mean, too. But it's been a huge journey, isn't it? We've just been doing this for so long.
So long, Mandy, so long. And I have the honor of knowing you from other lifetimes and share, absolutely know the times we've walked together, and Janine, feel that with your soul. I recognize you, deeply recognize you, and it's beautiful. And that we're all here to walk each other home.
We are.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's what I meant before when I was saying about recognition. Because yes, it's the same for me. I recognize you too, very much, very deeply. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
So
yes.
self-sovereignty, that's just what does that truly mean? Like when we look at this now, breaking down this old world and this systems, I feel that when we self-govern, there's no requirement for anything else really, and that's what the sovereignty is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think
you wrapped it up in a nutshell. Yeah. Yeah, inner governance.
Yeah. Freedom at last.
Yeah, inner queendom.
Yes. Exactly.
That's lovely. Yes.
Well, Jenny, it's been absolutely beautiful conversation with you, chat here today. And thank you so much for coming in and sharing you and letting others see you as well, which will be wonderful. I'm so excited about that. So thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me here and being a guest in your space. I keep reading the word intimate, and it has felt like that, really intimate, to share this precious space in both your hearts. Thank you so much for having me here, Mandy and Janine.
Beautiful.
It's been a beautiful time shared here in such a sacred space, and I want to thank you as well, Jenny, and you too, Mandy.
Mm.
Thank you.